Dokie gals, hope you are all doing well and welcome to our little weekly webinar about snacking and setting boundaries with snacking. So it's something we all do. We all love a snack. To try and cut snacks out, to try and live without snacks is, in my opinion, a futile activity. Like, it's counterproductive and it makes us miserable because, snacks are like the golden egg of the day. It's what we all look forward to, once or twice a day. And personally, I think snacks are the best meal, next to breakfast, obviously. So it's important to say snacking itself is not the issue. It is normal to need, food outside of our meal times for, mental, physical, or emotional purposes, basically. The problem with snacking is that it's usually used in replacement of an actual meal. So where, one of the big things that I see with people coming through with coaching is that they don't often eat breakfast or they'll miss out lunch. And instead of having an actual meal for breakfast or lunch, they'll just snack. And the thing is with snacks is that they're not designed to fill you up, really. They're designed to give you, an extra 10 to 20% fullness, as I said, an emotional or a mental boost, or, like if it's a pre-workout snack, then physically a tiny bit more energy, but they're not designed to fill you up. And unfortunately, what people that skip meals do is they use snacks to fill them up. Now, you would have to eat a lot of chocolate to fill yourself up. And by the time you were full from the amount of chocolate you'd eaten, you're looking at thousands of calories, really. So snack items aren't designed to fill you up. They're there, as we said, for a little bit of a boost. They're usually quite calorie dense and they're usually very moreish. So that's kind of where the issue lies. That said, the worst thing you can do, as I've previously mentioned, is tell yourself that you can't have something, or tell yourself that you can't snack, because psychologically it's going to make you want to snack more. It's going to make you want that item more. So cutting things out is not the issue. It's setting boundaries and, not substituting them for whole meals. But I'll come on to that. So there's a couple of little tips that I've got here. So planning it, portioning it, balancing it, drinking it, and timing it. So if we come to plan it. So, we all know that planning is, one of the easiest organisation tools, but it also gives us something to look forward to. If you don't want to snack on a whim and you want to snack, with control and you want to set some boundaries with it, the best thing to do is to plan it. Now, I sent that TikTok into the group chat the other day about that lady who basically gets like little individual Tupperwares and she kind of meal preps her snacks. So maybe like you would, meal prep or plan your, breakfast, lunch and dinner, do the same with the snacks, plan your morning snack, plan your afternoon snack, plan your protein snacks, things like that. But, as you say, like plan your snacks just like you would meals, and then pack a snack bag if you're going out to work, and do this even if you're working from home as well, put it in the Tupperware, label it, that's your snacks for the day, and then it's up to you, how you divvy them out across the day. But, as is with all things, when it comes to food and meals, doing it on the whim and doing it without preparation or planning is much harder to control than it is if you do it with preparation and planning, because, as I said, like, it's a lot easier to be mindful about it, and if you've prepped it and you've planned it, it's easier to set boundaries because, you've already planned it. You've already, in a sense, set some boundaries with it by saying, this is what I'm going to have at this time on this day, and that is it, right? So that's the first sort of layer of setting a boundary. Then, think about how many snack breaks you're going to have throughout your working day. This could be, if you're someone that likes something sweet after every meal, for me it would be after lunch and then after dinner, or I would have one sort of mid-morning. If I'm going to have 3 snacks, I'd have one mid-morning and then I'd have one after lunch and then I'd have one after dinner. So I know I've identified the times in the day where I know I'm going to reach for a snack. And the easiest way to do it is, look at when you do naturally reach for a snack across the day. For most people, as I said, it is that kind of like post-lunch slump where, we're a little bit fatigued because we've eaten our food and our body's digesting it. All of the blood has gone to our stomach, and you get that kind of slump. And even though you're not necessarily full, you go and get some sugar because you want, you know, a little bit more of an extra sort of boost. So that sort of mid-afternoon slump's quite a good place to have one. Or, you know, mid-morning, you know, when you have your coffee break at like 11 o'clock, you know, you want something to go with your coffee. You know, breakfast, you know, you may have had breakfast sort of like, you know, at 11 o'clock 4 or 5 hours ago, so you're starting to get a little bit hungry. So yeah, it's have a look at when you identify that you're, you know, most likely to want to have a snack, and then, you know, that's the times when you would plan to have your snack. The second massive thing is portioning it. So I was actually chatting to a PT client the other day who had been given a massive bar of chocolate, and you know, she was struggling with how she, you know, like rather than divide it up in snacks, she had it all in one go. And I said, well, what you could do next time is if you do get given, like, you know, a sharing bar of chocolate or a sharing bag of sweets, or, you know, a big bag of popcorn or a big bag of crisps, put them into little containers, you know, weigh them out, say I'm going to have like 30-40 grams of this, put them into little containers and then put them in a cupboard. And then you've got that sort of like barrier there, because once you finish the Tupperware, you know, you finished your portion, rather than, you know, once you finish the bar, you finished the bar essentially. So portioning it's really good. Put your snack on a plate when you eat it, you know, it kind of gives it that sort of like meal vibe, you know, and therefore, you know, you're going to be a bit more mindful about it. You might savor it a little bit more. You're going to be, you know, less likely to, you know, if you've got a bag and you're just like grabbing handfuls of popcorn, which is literally me, you know, you will stop when either your guilty conscience kicks in and you feel a bit shit, or, you know, when you finish the bag. But if you get, you know, like here it says like the little individual packs, they're quite good, you know, that is your portion, that is your snack, and once it's finished, that's snack time over. So yeah, put your snack in a bowl, don't eat it straight out the bag, don't eat, you know, the chocolate, you know, don't bite the chocolate straight out of the sharing bar, you know, don't eat the family size packet of crisps, put them into a little bowl. I mean, these little bowls are cute AF, but put them into a bowl, a Tupperware, a plastic bag. When you know, when you first buy it, decant it so it's not there, you know, sitting as a large bar of chocolate in your cupboard. You know, as soon as you buy it, if you can't buy the individual portion sizes, decant it into portion sizes, essentially like you would with your meal prep, you know, put them into Tupperwares. And then another thing you can do, obviously, if you're tracking, is set yourself a certain amount of calories per day. And I would always do this as a range, because you are always going to have days, you know, notably like pre-period, where you're going to want more snacky foods, or you're going to have days when actually you don't necessarily, maybe you're not super hungry and, you know, you don't necessarily want like full meals, so you want more sort of like snacky meals. But set yourself a boundary, or a calorie range. You know, I generally would say between 200 and 500 calories. You know, a chocolate bar is about, you know, depending on what you get, like a bar of dairy milk is about 230 calories. So, you know, 200, 250 calories, set that as your allowance each day. And if you're tracking on MyFitnessPal, like block that out like you would, you know, time in your diary for like, you know, being productive, or, you know, doing meal prep, or, you know, block out that time of day if you really need to work on a certain project, or if you even had a meeting, you know, put your snacks in first when you're tracking your food, and then work everything else around it. Obviously, don't take the piss, you know, like 1,000 calories worth of snacks when your calorie goal is 1,600 calories a day. Like, you know, that's not ideal. You're going to be hungry. But, you know, up to 500 calories a day of snacks, like, you know, that's 2 chocolate bars, or it's a chocolate bar and a crumpet and a Nutella, and, you know, like, you know, that's pretty decent with snacks, you know, so that's a pretty decent amount of snacks. So 200 to 500 calories a day is what I would normally give, you know, you guys as clients. Like, that's the sort of, or, you know, that's what I would give my clients if I'm doing their meal plan. You know, and, you know, that's what I give myself. You know, I would probably have, you know, 350 calories a day of snacks. Pre-period, yeah, it'd be looking more like 500 calories a day. So yeah, portioning is a big thing. Now, balancing it. So kind of what I mentioned about earlier, like, when you're hungry and you want a snack, what you need to ask yourself is, am I hungry for a meal, or am I hungry for a snack? Like, am I, you know, on the hunger scale? Remember, we've got that hunger scale, you know, 10 being like uncomfortably full, 1 being like ravenous, like on the edge of fainting. And then, you know, normally when you approach a meal, you kind of want to be around like the 4, 5, 6 mark. Ask yourself if you're hungry for a snack or if you're hungry for a meal. If it's lunchtime and you're like, oh, I kind of fancy a snack, have a meal, like have a lunch, have a full lunch. Like that's going to fill you up way more than a snack is. And obviously, you know, it's going to add a lot more benefit nutrition wise, you know, getting some protein in, that's going to keep you fuller for longer. So ask yourself, do I need a meal or do I need a snack? And don't feel confined to like, you know, traditional lunch, breakfast and dinner times, because ultimately you are the master of your own fate when it comes to meals. You know, like if you've eaten your breakfast really early, then of course, you know, if you had your breakfast at 5 a.m, you know, 11 a.m is going to be like lunchtime for you. You know, 5 p.m is going to be more like dinner. So, you know, don't feel like, oh, it's 11 o'clock, I can't possibly have my lunch now. If you're hungry, have your lunch. There is no like set rules as to when you eat your first meal or your last meal or your middle meal of the day. You know, it's like the same with breakfast. When people say, oh, I don't eat breakfast, I'm not hungry first thing. Don't eat it first thing, like, but just make sure that your first meal that you have is still a full meal. So if you're, you know, hungry, and, you know, you actually think, you know, I could probably eat a whole meal, have a whole meal rather than a snack, right? If actually it's just, you know, like 11's or middle of the day, like after lunch slump, or mid-afternoon slump, you know, and you want to have a snack, then great, have a snack. But, you know, as it says here, like if you didn't have breakfast or you skipped your lunch and, you know, you're going to find yourself more desperate to, you know, have that sort of binge mentality around food, because as I said, you're eating to fill yourself up. You're not eating to kind of perk yourself up, right? But space out your meals and your snacks, you know, to keep them consistent. Like, you know, I generally will try and eat every 4 hours. You know, I'll have like breakfast at 8, lunch at 12, and then I'll have, you know, like a snack around 4, and then I'll have dinner when I get back from PT clients, like 7, half 7, if I've got evening clients. But I'll try and eat sort of like, you know, main meals every 4 hours, and then snacks maybe like every, you know, 2 to 3 hours. So so like make sure you're having something consistent, but, you know, make sure you're, you know, in between your snacks, you're sandwiching a proper meal. So big meal snack, big meal snack, big meal snack, you know, do it like that. And that's just going to keep your blood sugar level consistent as well. It's going to keep you full. It's going to keep you like working an optimum sort of level. But yeah, like if you know you've got like a different day, so if you do like some days in the office, some days at home, like you may need to kind of think about your working schedule and think how you're going to eat around that. You know, it may mean that, you know, where in the, you know, if you're working from home and you can make breakfast at like 9:30, you know, you may not need a morning snack because your next meal might be, you know, lunch. But obviously if you're going into the office and you're commuting, you're going to eat breakfast slightly earlier. So you may need to factor in like a mid-morning snack. So just think about, you know, when you're planning your days, like think about what your day and your schedule is going to be like at work, and then think about what your schedule like is going to be like at home, and then, you know, have like a sort of routine for working from home snacks and meals, and a routine for working in the office snacks and meals. And the obvious thing really is like to make it balanced, like include a protein source to make it filling. So you know, like one of my favorite snacks is like Greek yogurt and honey. That's my protein source. And then I'll have like a crumpet and Biscoff. That's my snack. And yeah, okay, that's kind of like it's kind of like that sits between a snack and a meal. So, you know, you may want to make one of your snacks slightly more dense, like, you know, if you need something to really tide you over because, you know, you can't, you know, you've had breakfast at like 8 a.m. and you're not going to be able to have lunch until like 2, 3 because you've got loads of meetings, then yeah, your snack is going to want to be a little bit more substantial than just a crumpet on its own. So yeah, like a crumpet and a protein shake, or like, you know, a protein yogurt, or one of those protein puddings, or something like that. But like or like, you know, a cheese and ham toasty, something like that. Beans on toast, like, you know, it doesn't have to be a full meal's worth, like one slice of toast and like 150 grams of beans, and a little bit of cheese. Like that's kind of, you know, going to tide you over. It's like a half meal almost. So, but adding that protein source, you know, we know what an impact, you know, protein has on our satiation levels, like how full we are and stuff like that. So, you know, it makes sense to include protein, you know, with a snack. And obviously that's a really easy way of getting your protein up as well. You know, if you divide your total protein goal by like 4 or 5, I'll show you. Like let's say your protein goal is like 140 grams. obviously divided by 3, you know, that's quite a lot of protein per meal. You know, you may not want to eat that much chicken. If you divide it by 4, you know, suddenly it's slightly less. If you divide it by 5, you know, it's even more manageable. You know, that's like under 30 grams of protein per meal. You know, that's going to be pretty optimal. So yeah, you know, maybe have like a selection of nice protein sources that you can actually, that are really convenient, that you can actually have with your snack. So, you know, protein bar, protein yogurt, protein shake, Greek yogurt, you know, ham, cheese, Baby Bells, you know, what else? Like cream cheese and a sandwich with some smoked salmon, like that kind of thing. But yeah, always try and include a protein source as much as possible to keep you full. Now, drinking it. So my least favourite phrase is, you're not hungry, you're probably just thirsty, right? Because if you're thirsty, right? Okay, but the thing with thirst is that obviously your body is devoid of hydration. When you drink, the water goes into your stomach. So if you're constantly drinking across the day, you've constantly got some volume in your stomach, and therefore you're less likely to feel hungry. You're not going to be like, if you're thirsty, you're thirsty. If you're hungry, you're probably hungry, right? So, like, saying that you know, you're not hungry, you're just thirsty is bollocks, really, because you might actually just be hungry. But you can interpret hunger as thirst, as in some instances. So, you know, like at least 2 litres of water a day, or squash, or, you know, like one of my sort of dieting favourites is fizzy flavoured water, because obviously, like, you know, fizzy drinks fill you up a lot more than, you know, soft, you know, uncarbonated drinks. So like fizzy flavoured water, or Fanta, or Sprite, or something like that. Anything that's not got caffeine in, so not Diet Coke, unless you get the caffeine-free version. But like fizzy flavoured drinks, fizzy diet drinks, squash, that kind of thing. But make sure you're having at least 2 litres of water a day, right? Because if you're making sure that you're hydrated and you've got some sort of liquid volume in your stomach, you're less likely to be hungry. Obviously, if you exercise, you do a lot of steps, you have an active job, like, you're going to need more than, you know, 2 litres a day. Like, I would say 2 litres a day is probably like the minimum you need if you work from home, and, you know, you probably only average about 7,000 steps a day. So make sure you're staying hydrated. Like a tip, like especially if you're dieting, like, you know, the easiest thing to do, if you're hungry, have a drink of water or squash or fizzy water or whatever you're having first. If you're still hungry in 10 minutes time, then have a snack. You know, get your snack on, absolutely. But that's a really good way of kind of, you know, it's kind of like with the emotional eating, and I said, like, you know, take a pause before you dive straight in. You know, it's the same sort of thing. Like, you know, ask yourself, am I actually hungry? Is it an emotional thing? Am I just thirsty? You know, take a pause, have a drink of something, you know, have a decaf coffee, have a low-cal hot chocolate, something that's going to actually fill you up and hydrate you. And if you're still hungry in 10 minutes, then ask yourself if you need a meal or a snack. If you need a snack, have a snack, right? That's kind of like the route that you kind of want to go down. Other sort of like drinkable snacks are always quite good as well, because obviously, you know, they're easy to digest, they really fill you up, they get your hydration levels in. So, you know, like homemade smoothies with like frozen berries and protein powder, and whatever milk of choice, and like some ice cubes is always a really nice one in summer. You know, homemade soup is a good one as well, like, you know, especially at the moment where it's, you know, starting to get a bit wintry. You know, I will always have some veggie soup in the fridge, you know, for like my mid-afternoon slump, or sort of like, you know, if I'm not going to eat before I'm going to a PT session, I'll have, you know, a bowl of soup or something, just to kind of like, you know, keep the hunger at bay. Low-cal hot chocolates is another really good one. You know, they fill you up, not very many calories. You can make them, you know, like quite luxurious with, you know, getting some squirty cream on them or something. But they're all like good drinkable snacks. Obviously protein shakes is another one, but, you know, not everyone enjoys them, but they're always quite a good way of kind of filling you up and getting your protein in as well. But yeah, that's a good like main thing to think about, you know, taking the pause. Like, if you want a snack, make sure you have a drink first, and if you're still like, no, I need, you know, I need something else, then like obviously go in with a snack. And then obviously just a note on like coffees and teas and stuff like that, remember that caffeine will dehydrate you. You know, you don't really want to be having more than 2 coffees a day. And I know you're all thinking, but gee, you're such a hypocrite. I know. You know, if you do want to have more than 2 coffees a day, maybe make your third one a decaf, or have like, you know, caffeinated, decaf, caffeinated. But remember, caffeine does dehydrate you. Same with tea. So, you know, the more tea or coffee that you drink, the more dehydrated you're going to be. The more water you're going to need to drink, but the more dehydrated you're going to be, the hungrier you're going to get, right? So just think about, you know, limiting your caffeine intake. And then timing it. So yeah, this kind of goes back to like the scheduling side of things. So, you know, use a timer. If you've identified like certain times, like 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, that are like definitely sort of like snackish times for you, then set a timer in your phone and say like, look, I'm going to have my snack at 10. If you don't need it at 10, then you can set an alarm for 11:30, or, you know, push it back. But like, set yourself as a reminder so that you have something to look forward to, but also, like, you know, you have that there, that's that time, that's that natural break in the day, that's that time that you get to enjoy that snack and you get to savour it. But yeah, like, have a go at these boundaries for a week and, you know, sort of see how you get on. You may not need all of them, you may just need some of them, you may need all of them, but having structure in your day, and sort of like a surety that it's, you know, scheduled, that you are allowed to have the snack and you've planned the snack and you know that it's balanced, you know, you know that you're getting something, you know, you've got something to look forward to in between each meal. Like, you know, it's going to take like a lot of the mindless thoughts out around snacking, and ultimately, you know, going back to what we said at the beginning, you know, snacking itself is not the issue, it's the kind of mindless nature that we usually you know, approach snacking with, you know, and that we don't necessarily, you know, like that we're using it to replace a meal rather than actually to kind of like perk us up. So yeah, but I hope this has helped, guys. Give me some feedback, let me know, and I will see you on the next one.